So were you listening to that music and then you were inspired to put together a band of
What
that
happened
kind of
was,
instrumentation?
what happened was, Hal hired me for a gig. Hal Willner. See, my daughter just turned 27, so 27 years ago, and 1994, and right, she'd just been born. It's hard to remember. I think she'd just been born. He said, I got this Robert Altman. I had done a little music he had done the music for the last Robert Altman movie, Shortcuts, and we kind of had like faux Spanish fly on that, like me and Tronzo or some stuff on Shortcuts, and I guess actually Marcus was bummed he didn't call too late, but Marcus got to do like, I don't know, it was an ad for it. He got to play something like that Greg Combs did with Lane Pickett, like some sort of thing for it, a bumper. I don't know. Anyway, I got to play on it. Like there's a little scene, and it's, you know, Hal would always like add people to things. And as he met you, he'd figure out, how can I add this guy to something, you know? Sure. And then he got called for the Kansas City movie, and that was kind of a big deal. And he's like, I got a gig for you, and he goes, I got this movie. I need you to like listen to this music. I'm gonna give you come by the office, and he would give me these cassette tapes and Xeroxes of the record, back of the records. And my job, I'm being paid. It's a gig. He's like, I got a gig for you, man. Because Hal was really cool that way. He knew musicians needed gigs.
Sure.
That's the hardest thing about musicians, figuring out how do you eat and pay the rent and that stuff, because we don't have jobs. It's not like, oh, I got a job and every 2 weeks I get a check.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do? Well, so anyway, you're lucky Hal Willner calls you.
Sure.
And says, and he paid me, and my gig was to listen to this music, because Hal didn't listen to music scientifically. So my gig was like kind of get this in my ear, figure out what is the connecting tissue to all this music. So when we listen, when people start, sorry, it's getting a little chilly. When people start playing, I can say, yeah, cool. Or I could actually physically say, hey, you know what, can you blah, 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 or don't blah, 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 you know?
Sure.
And, man, I guess it was 3 months. I made every Tuesday, go down to the office, another box of cassette tapes and Xeroxes, and I listened to music, so I got paid.
So you're getting paid to just check out this music?
Not just, I'm getting paid to check out this music. Okay. So you don't have to say just, because that...
I don't mean to say just.
Yeah, but you did.
Well, I did say that.
Yeah, so,
okay,
but we're saying,
right.
I'm being paid to check out this music.
Sure.
The same way someone's being paid to check out stocks or anything else. It's like, yes, but it's for a movie, so there is a commercial consideration. The whole thing about music is, where does like the money thing come in, so we can eat.
Sure.
And a movie, it does, because people go to see movies. They didn't go see that movie. In fact, I saw it on TV, and I realized it is kind of it's a curious movie, but it has a weird pacing, I gotta say. Have you seen it ever, Kansas City?
No.
Oh, you should see it, man. It's like, I mean, you know, the Europeans consider it, like the European jazz people say, like, I'll say it, they say that's the best jazz ever in a movie. Because it was Hal Willner style. It was like chaos, man. Sure. Excuse my language, it was chaos, man. And it's like we got like James Carter, Josh Redman, Don Byron, Olu, Nick Payton, really young Nick Payton, James Zoller, Curtis Folks, Clark Gayton, Ron Carter and Christian McBride at different times, Victor Lewis on drums. And they needed 2 piano players. They needed Count Basie and Mary Lou Williams. So we had Jerry Allen and Cyrus Chestnut.
That's amazing.
Oh, and Fathead Newman and Jesse Davis.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
and then David Murray showed up today. And then Russell Malone and Mark Whitfield at different times on guitar. And Hal thought these guys were going to be able to conduction the music.
Okay.
Because Hal was such an optimist. He was like, oh, well, of course, these guys, you know, you say, we'll play the song, well, Butch here, and Butch will, because Butch Morris came, and he'll just do his thing, it'll be like, happen like magic.
Sure.
And I was just going, yeah, it's not really how it works. Because Hal started working with like Ross on Roland Kirk the first time. When you work with people like that, he literally assumed that every musician could just like, well, if I can hear a song, you guys are great musicians. Like, I know how it goes, but,
yeah, sure.
But you guys are great. And actually, for most of us, it's not the way. We have you have an amount, but very few people know it. No, nobody knows everything. I've been around enough people.
Sure.
Nobody knows everything. And so they didn't know this music. And Hal was like, oh, don't worry, they have arrangements over at the university. I go over to the university, and they got like, thinking like, oh man, someone's like transcribed this stuff. It's like those cheesy stock arrangements for like none of the songs he wanted. If they were just like a stock. Go back here. Anyway, it was chaos. It was chaos, man. Like chaos. Like, but not the good chaos. Like the bad chaos.
And there's a deadline, and you're doing
No,
this
deadline. It's a movie. It's alive. No, it's live. It's live. They're recording the music during the scenes. So you got like Harry Belafonte and like Steve Buscemi, and the band's right there, and they're talking, and the band's playing at the same time.
That's
he
hilarious.
wanted. That's how Altman wanted it. Altman wanted the movie. Half the movie takes place in this club.
Yeah.
And in this club is the Count Basie band and Ben Webster coming through. Oh, sorry, and Craig Handy. Right. We had that many tenors. Craig Handy, James Carter, and Josh Redman. There's 2 tenor battles because there's supposed to be Coleman Hawkins, Lester Young, and Ben Webster. They're not supposed to be them. The thing is, because these are real jazz musicians, no one's imitating anybody. They're just such bad dudes, man. And everyone's just like, and it's chaos. And you got all these guys. It was total hell. The tension of all these people from these different scenes who maybe don't know each other, and trust each other.
Yeah.
And everyone forces everybody to just like, that was the magic of Hal. So anyway, we did this movie. What ended up happening was I had to write charts every night. I mean, we farmed a few out, but none of us had ever really done this. Hal's like, well, you can write charts, right? I'm like, yeah. It's like, okay, so tomorrow, and they hand me like a script, like, and the script was written like, piano, bass, and guitar playing whatever song it is. So-and-so walks in, starts playing, and like, so you kind of need to kind of orchestrate like this scene. And, I just did it the best I could. I mean, it was super primitive. But everybody was, I told the guys in the band, that's the good thing about being a musician, like a working musician. I just told them, I was like, look, here's the deal. We're in this. This is how it's going to work. Like, I'm going to have a little lead sheet for you guys. Sometimes a lead sheet, sometimes an arrangement, whatever we can do to make it work. We'll just rely on, you guys being great musicians and me being clear about what we're going to play. And you guys know how to do this. And let's not make a big deal about it, like the real deal, like with real musicians. You don't have to like spell everything out for them. They got a lead sheet, they know what key it is, here's the cues, here's where you're coming in, you come in here, play this thing. And Nick Payton, listen to the endings on every tune. Nick would just create these like unbelievable endings. He's like 22 years old. I'm like, where does this even come from? But like I knew you have all these musicians, just be clear. This, boom, you come in this chorus, you come in, okay, here's a little background we're gonna throw here, blah, blah, blah. These guys were so good, man. And it was, no one had ever tried to do this. Like they're in the scene and you got like Joshua Redman and James Carter going at each other. Like while people are acting.
That makes it even better too, because the people doing the scene, they're like it's a movie, and you guys had to have been like right in the music, like having a, must have been a blast to do it, even if it was a little.
It was incredible. What a gift! But it was really like no one ever tried to do that. But no one really saw the movie. Anyway, I get back. Bill Frisell has just poached my band. And so I had.
Because you were playing regularly
at Tonic. We had Friday nights at Tonic. Bill, he's not going to see it anyway, but it's just said as a loving joke because Bill Frisell's like the greatest ever, right? Let's be clear about this, like who Bill Frisell is. And Kenny had already been playing with him on and off, and Sex Mob was touring, and he heard Tony, and it's back when the period, not that anything Tony doesn't do is amazing, but he used to do this thing where we'd be playing ABBA song, Fernando. And he'd do a thing where he's like playing two melodies and then playing bass other parts with his foot. And, we'd be playing rock clubs, of course. That's what we were doing with Sex Mob. And Bill came and he was just like, whoa, called Tony up. So then he had Tony and Kenny. Well, that's my band. So I had these Friday nights at Tonic, and they were packed, man. They were like a cultural thing happening. I had a good cultural. And I said to myself, I got a night. I've been like obsessed with this because there were songs I had been obsessed with from listening to that we hadn't gotten to, certain songs. We were like playing. We'd be playing these the first MTO stuff and the original stuff. We're playing those old songs. Oh, we were getting to how I started the band.
Yeah.
That's how this whole thing started. Okay, so I had this night, and I just had been doing this stuff with Hal, and I said, man, these songs have been in my head they won't leave my head. I can't stop listening to them. Like, even though I wasn't paid to listen to them anymore, like, I kept listening to them.
Sure.
I said, well, what if I just, like, put together a band and played these songs at Tonic and just saw what happened? And that's literally how it started. I think I had 2, maybe 3 songs written out and a couple lead sheets, and then did some jamming. That was the first MTO gig. The second gig, I probably had 4 arrangements, and we got a European tour out of it.
Okay.
Because it had been Lester Bowie's funeral. And, man, you know, I was pretty lit up. I had been emotional that day. And, you know, I think in honor of Lester, I had a cigar and was drinking whiskey, which I usually didn't do.
Sure.
And so I was feeling pretty good. And we started off by playing St. Louis Blues. And I don't know if you know the version from Rope-A-Dope of St. Louis Blues with Joe Bowie and Lester Bowie. Mm-hmm. And we just went for it. And we've been playing St. Louis Blues to start every gig ever since. Like, that version of St. Louis Blues got me a European tour with, like, on my second gig, and there still had been a rehearsal.
Wow.
And I already had a European tour.
Sure. That's a good sign.
Yeah. And we played, and still people come up to me and they'll hear the whole thing and go like, man, that St. Louis Blues arrangement. And I'm like, yeah, I know, because it's not an arrangement. You know, I got 2 written courses, maybe 3 written courses now I use. I start with 1 written course, and then the second written course. And about 1.5 years ago, I added a course of the Herbie Nichols song. But that's it. The rest of it is improvised.
Wow.
And people they think it's the greatest arrangement they've ever heard.
Sure.
Like Heavy Arrangers.
Yeah. That's amazing. But it's the people that you have that you've been working with for so
right.
long, and
and
they
I
know
know, like, if I go like this, especially in the old days, I'd be like to the baritone, go like this, and the clarinet like this. Like, hit a chord, but like, let's start working. Let's see what we can find here. Sure. It was just those guys like, okay, I'll play up here, and I'd tell them the air, it's not that high. Like, come on, man. Air doesn't go so high. But that sounds stupid, man. Right? No, I don't want to sound stupid. I just want to play like I know the baritone. Like,
yeah, right.
But but then we got that thing, and then they'd find their own, like, they invested in it. You know, they're not playing my music; they're finding their resonance.
Sure.